Okay, I realize it's Saturnday, and we generally open with going to take you to Saturn, but that's going to be the outro. So we can play it in its entirety at the end, and at the end of the live stream, I'm going to try to send everybody over to Discord. The plan today is to record the IPS Deep Think Tank number 2, which is a brand new podcast featuring all of you and me in a Discord server voice chat where we talk about anything, everything, and really nothing's closed here. No topics are closed. Even things that I don't agree with, I'm happy to debate. And I'm happy to disagree. Patricia Steer says, Storm Antarctica in December. Yeah, I saw that. There's a group of flat earthers supposedly going to Antarctica to witness a 24-hour sun. And there's a separate documentary I read about. I haven't heard any news. Joined by Reverse History. Happy Saturday. And also, we're going to be talking about AutoHoaxCon number 2, which is going to be on 10/26. So if you want to mark your calendars, there'll be another Zoom conference. But that one will be live streamed. So if you can't make it, or you aren't able to get in on the Zoom conference, you will see it live. But if you want to participate, you will want to be in Zoom. We're not on the audio streams tonight because of gremlins. They've eaten up my audio encoder laptop here, and it's in the process of updating. But I got tired of waiting for it. Wasted 10 minutes already. So let's go ahead and get started. We were live last night talking about what I call the misinformation affected. So the misinformation affected are similar to the Mandela affected. The difference is the label, but it's the same basic process of how fake news can actually, when you're repeatedly exposed to new information, recalling old information, it can actually impact your recollections. So a lot of these people who claim that they saw somebody falling off a tower, for example, they witnessed a plane, you find out that no, they really didn't. But they saw it in so many movies, it was in so much predictive programming, it was on the news so much that eventually they just came to believe it. We've also been talking about this theme of Disease X, of Elon Musk's website forming the basis for censoring everything, symbolized by the monkeypox, the monkey, the violent chimp in Nope. It's a reoccurring theme here, and it's being accelerated again on the back of all of this anti-FEMA rhetoric. Laura Loomer posted, the people in Appalachia should not comply with FEMA. It's a matter of survival. Do not comply with FEMA. And this really has me thinking, are they setting up another Waco? I have a feeling that there's too much of a buildup. I mean, there was a Netflix Waco American Apocalypse that came out the night before Trump kicked off his campaign there. So if you think about it, that's got to be predictive programming. And Alex Jones got his start at Waco, as did Timothy McVeigh. So the more I'm thinking about it, I'm seeing here that there seems to be a lot of deliberate buildup of anti-government rhetoric, and this is being funded. This is well funded. We've been looking at a lot of these crisis actors. So here's this nurse, and I've been watching videos on how to cry. And one of the techniques involves bugging your eyes and getting a lot of air on your eyes. You can even fan your eyes and get some tears going. And I'm seeing a lot of these techniques. And so this person is crying and driving, which I don't recommend. She claims to be a nurse. She should know better. But she's hyperventilating, and I think she might have been, I don't know, she might have put her finger in her eye here and turned him red before she got the live stream going. She's got the hyperventilation, but what you're seeing, according to the Twitter post, is a volunteer nurse unleashes an emotional plea. Elderly and kids won't survive the winter. I'll play this one first, and then I have another one where someone claims that there are thousands of bodies entombed in cars.
Allowed myself time to think and absorb, which is a good thing. This is a beautiful place, and so much of it has been ruined, and there's still so many people living without power.
I'm not going to play the whole thing. There are many videos like this. I found a few other examples that were obvious fakes. Like this one here, people are calling them earnest lies about FEMA. Caught fake crying on camera telling FEMA lies. And he does kind of look like that Ernest character. So let me play a clip of Ernest lies about FEMA. And the background music. The background music's already going to make me cry.
Try my best. I've been trying to make this video for the last 15 to 20 minutes.
He's been crying too hard, so he couldn't do it. Or this is like take 5, and his method acting is finally kicking in. He had to think about his first pet or something dying. He had to think of something to get this reaction. It even says in the top, sorry for the emotions. If you were sorry, you would re-record it without your emotions. This is emotional incontinence. For money.
And it just blows my mind. You know, the level of depravity some of these people are going to go to. So
I think there's something hypnotic about this type of music. I do think they're attempting to hypnotize the viewers. And the comments are ruthless. But what he's basically saying is FEMA death camps, FEMA coffins, you're all going to die. Don't trust the government. But these individuals wouldn't be doing this if they weren't paid. So somebody is paying for this opinion to be proliferated and to be spread like a mind virus among the right. Let's see who's joined us. Elephant Tusks, Kevin Mooring, Ted Stryker, John Francis, Flozik, Frugal Snowbird, Plain Decoded, Queen Diamond. Kevin Mooring says, Sam Tripoli posted the other day that Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. Let's move on. Interesting. Well, I have a documentary I was referencing the other day, and I watched it, and I'm somewhat convinced, and have been for some time, but I also am ambivalent. Like, it really doesn't matter at this point. I think that he gets kind of a pass because he's such a good actor. His entertainment value. Maybe we throw some tomatoes, but, you know, I'm not trying to blow his cover. Violet Pengon, P. Trippa, Queen Diamond, Elephant Tusks, thanks for joining. And by the way, if you want to get into the recording here in the Discord server, we're going to be recording episode 2 of the IPS Deep Think Tank. Go to ips.monster and hit the button that will take you right over to Discord. So we're going right after this. I figured, you know what, if we're live here, I'll bring in a lot more people than we had last week. Got a post from Messianic Charlatan. He said, examining and investigating who's responsible for the Amazon Batman series may lead to a revelation of who is puppeteering the Trump character, since this series proves they're intimately connected beyond dispute. Now, he's referring to what I've been talking about these last few days, which is the Caped Crusader Batman series, where a Trump character named Rupert Thorne has a bat boomerang thrown at his head, and this is intentional. It was meant to send a warning. It was meant to warn him about next season, in fact. It cuts his ear, right where Trump had his ear cut. And this just came out, maybe like a month ago. And second season was picked up by Amazon on August 4th, which is also kind of interesting. And what Messianic Charlatan is suggesting is something that I've been saying too, is that if we stop really looking too closely at crisis actors exist, sure, but that doesn't take you anywhere. We need to look at the script writers. We need to look higher in what connects them. So what he suggests here is both must link to Tony Soprano's show's authors. That's correct. Sopranos season 1, episode 12, at the end, Tony Soprano gets shot. It's an assassination attempt, but they just cut his ear, and he wears an ear bandage in that episode. He goes on to say the Metascriptors are probably easy to discern by the connections and links and interactions between real characters like Trump and their predictive programming artistic authors. All valid points. Like, I would like to put together in a mind map anybody that we believe to be associated with having scripted 9/11, from Kubrick to Cameron to probably Tom Clancy and a host of others we could name. Like as far as those who are deeply in the know. We could find many examples. Patricia Steer says, emotional incontinence. A good band name. Yeah, that's what we're seeing. Like, this gives them some kind of gravitas, but it's an emotional appeal. It's a logical fallacy in and of itself. If somebody's crying, they shouldn't be uploading stuff. It's like drunk dialing. But they do it for clicks. And the people who share these videos aren't the original uploaders. They just go on a TikTok, they grab something, and they get clicks off of it. So this is just clickbait media. Nothing different. Alt media is the same exact thing as the mainstream. If it bleeds or cries, it leads, and they have no conscience about it. Truth has fallen back behind clicks. It's basically all about clicks. Breaking Diddy lawsuit accuses Kanye West. I hate reading allegations because people take allegations as fact. And I'm not part of this. I'm not trying to say that it's not plausible. I mean, guilt by association, though, isn't enough. But I'm still of the opinion that everything here is scripted and fake. I'm not finding this to be believable. Although, I think that Ye's wife just divorced him. And even that seemed fake. If you remember, he was running his mouth. He was getting in trouble with the powers that be. And then all of a sudden he meets Bianca Censori. And the name has sort of an anagram in it for I censor. And as soon as he hooked up with her, he stopped talking. It was like he'd been censored. Elephant Tusk says, Tim, did you see the Punky Brewster episode where the Challenger exploded and Punky got sent home from school? No, I'll look it up though. That's an interesting point. How the sitcoms often mirror the programming. So I looked it up. Punky's dream is to become an astronaut when she grows up. Then she sees the space shuttle on TV and she's devastated. Oh, this looks horrible. I'm going to bookmark it so we can watch it later. It's like cringe-ertainment. Nothing I want to look at live here. I mean, maybe we should. Let's just take a quick look. It looks terrible. But we might as well. I mean, we're talking about and we're examining mind control targeting children. Trauma. Oh, a very special episode. Okay, let's take a look.
Brandon's unwinding with a little National Puppy Radio while Punky's bed blogging. A couple weeks back, some shit went down. All the way down. Henry suggested she blog about it to feel better.
What made me so sad was that the space shuttle blew up.
This better be one hell of a blog, folks. It all started with some extremely...
Okay, this is a breakdown of the episode, not the real thing. Okay, so there's this... She gives a little... There we go. A little talk at the front of her class in an astronaut costume. She wants to be an astronaut. And now we have a group cry session. Let's just watch the prayer for the astronauts that they say.
Started to cry. Then they said a prayer for the astronauts and also the TV writers who will be asked to tackle this tomorrow. Punky demands answers. Why? Henry says sometimes bad things happen to good people. So those...
Okay, this is obviously someone who probably thinks the Challenger explosion was real. So it's a worthwhile breakdown. I'll check it out later. I think it's relevant, though, to mention that we're being set up for another Challenger disaster, and I think this one's coming from Boeing. We've been talking about this Boeing disaster, and there was some recent news. Yes, they're shedding 17,000 jobs, cutting 10% of the workforce. Boeing has been in the news since Leave the World Behind. It's been pretty consistent. Clump says they stole Punky's dreams. The aggression will not stand. Kevin Mooring says the shuttle blew up at 7 a.m. Most schools showed it later. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people saw it after, but they weren't told. You know, I think that's kind of bizarre too. If they made you watch it and they had a VHS and they wheel in a TV into the classroom and then you watch it and you don't know, that's kind of it's cruel is what it is. King Ravana says, I still remember teachers flipping out when that happened. Now, that's a really good point there. They had a teacher go up. They sent a teacher in order to make the whole psyop accessible to children. Not a coincidence. They're very selective in their faux sacrifices. They're really selective in their choice of victims so that it resonates with the right people. Penguin Doctor said, I used to love it when the teacher pushed the TV in that, except for that day. They traumatized the hell out of us in elementary school. Oh, there's a Boeing machinist strike. What happened to the longshoremen? News on Q Street is they were rescuing children from the shipping containers because they were tired of hearing the children whine from the inside, scratching at the walls. Like that's one of these stories that's circulating. Nobody's fact checked it. They've already moved on to something else. Okay, let's continue. We already looked at the crying climate change scientist, but I want to play it one more time. He's watching a satellite image. He's not watching stranded people. He's not watching houses flooding down the streets. He's not really watching anything except for this red graphic. and he breaks down in tears. So this is climate scientist on tracking Milton.
Incredible hurricane. It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours.
Now, I brought this up just to show how both sides are using crisis actors. And I spell it CRYSIS. Violet says, Boeing delivers 33 jets in September, but strikes impact loom. Yeah, that 33 again. And Boeing has been in the news, and it's also been in the entertainment. I watched Fly Me to the Moon about the faking of the moon landing, and they have multiple Boeing jokes. And when they talk about Boeing, they have explosions in the background, or they just put out a fire. Not unintentional. I would consider it to be concurrent programming. Plain Decoded says, on 9/11, my classroom just so happened to have a TV on before the second plane. We never had a TV in the class. Interesting. Yeah, that's a great point there. Yeah, and weather crisis acting is not new. You often see the weathermen and reporters leaning into non-existent winds while people in the background are just comfortably strolling by. Like, why is that? It's because they get clicks by exaggerating stuff. Okay, let me go ahead and go through my bookmarks here. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can also get the archives there. We are streaming live at IPS Think Tank. And I think it's also notable, and I mentioned this the other day, but Trump has this thing called Operation Aurora. And this has to do with flushing illegals out of Aurora, Colorado. And we had mentioned Aurora being significant because of that's the location of the shooter, James Holmes, the so-called Joker shooter. So we have that. He's in Aurora, announces Operation Aurora. Meanwhile, we're all observing this aurora that's pretty much visible everywhere. Interesting timing. But this is another example of how the Batman fictional universe is deeply connected with Trump's ongoing narrative, the Joker shooter. And then I just mentioned how you have the Trump character Rupert Thorne getting his ear clipped by Batman as a warning for next season. And I think next season could be the next election. And someone had asked me what my prediction is. I don't make predictions based on my own political opinions or takes, because I happen, and this was, Jacques had said, what's your prediction? I'm basing it solely on predictive programming. And that would lean heavily toward Trump in the office, and then Kamala comes in with an M16 and kills him. That's what happened in Civil War. Civil War, the movie directed by the guy who wrote 28 Days Later about the rage virus coming from the chimps. And the apes, the chimps, they catch it from watching TV. They catch a rage virus by watching violence on TV, and then it becomes a epidemic. That's kind of what they want you to think about media. So you're scrolling through X, you're hitting on some rage bait, and now all of a sudden you want to go out and shoot something up, attack or threaten a meteorologist, or attack a COVID testing center. They have been preparing us. They've been preparing the masses for the eventual day where they're going to say, for your own good, we're going to have to lock down the internet. We're going to have to increase our regulation of the free flow of information. Okay, going through my tweets. Kate Perry performed for the Australian Football League on September 28th, the day after Hurricane Helen hit North Carolina. In the performance, the dancers formed into a hurricane symbol. Is this a coincidence? So let's take a look here. What is this? So was it chemtrails, cloud seeding, or Kate Perry? How did they get this thing to go? It is an interesting coincidence, and it's probably not a coincidence, to be quite honest. People say we talked about this the other day, who do the elite worship? Are they Satanists, a satanic cabal? No, I think it's more accurate to say, because I've been saying pantheistic, but they worship nature. Their rituals mimic nature. They personify nature in every way. That's what their whole religion is about. So this actually would be consistent with their, I don't know, maybe some kind of weather worship. I don't think they cause it though. Like they worship the sun. They don't worship the devil. He's like a minor player, and it's not even the devil. It's just this fertility deity with horns. Like CERN, I think could be. You had these CERN rituals. We had these dancers dressed up like goats, and the Baphomet guy does his CERN dance, or he's got antlers, and that's Cernunnos, the god of the woods, which is, like Baphomet kind of taps into that idea. The horned god though is not the devil. It's not even the same thing. King Ravana says, is there any Metal Gear Solid ear wounds in the video games? So Metal Gear Solid is where you get Escape from New York, right? Isn't that the same character, Snake? Am I correct in that? We were talking about Donald Pleasant, who played the president in Escape from New York. It was during World War III, and he's the guy who is the evil person, the villain in 007, and he has the eye wound. Eye wound, name Donald, president during World War III, and then of course Metal Gear Solid. I think there's some kind of, oh yeah, the cover. Kurt Russell's character has the eye patch. Elephant Tusks has a prediction. He says he predicts a major event prior to the election which will make it postponed indefinitely. Yeah, I have my fingers crossed that on 11/3 they nuke Seattle. No offense if you live in Seattle, I don't think it's going to be a real nuke. I think it's going to be a psyop, so I don't feel bad, saying that this is something I'm hoping for a plot twist. Kevin Mooring says Donald Pleasance was in 1984. Okay, well, Donald Pleasance is the shadowy figure, the government figure who's in Newsbenders, who's telling the new journalist who's being initiated that we write the news 5 years in advance. Did you see the Internet Archive was hacked, says Elephant Tusks? Not surprised. If it wasn't for the Internet Archive and Wayback Machine, I wouldn't have been able to have exposed a lot of things about Goldfinch and George News, the computer hacker that's close to Trump, that hacked Hunter Biden's laptop. That was in the news the other day. I'll probably allude to that later. I mean, we're less than a month away from the hearing, so I don't want to waste time. We're going to have a resolution of some kind. Elephant Tusk says, I've been told this year is the end of the Kali Yuga. Apparently, Wikipedia has psyoped people into believing it doesn't end for 1,000 more years. Yeah, it sounds like 2012 all over again. Do you remember 2012? And then nothing happened. And then it became Nibiru in 2013. Some people hoping that maybe they were counting after the first year. And that kind of went away. Then 2020 was the new 2012. And it was a better 2012 than 2012 was, as far as world stage events. Although I would argue that 2012 was a pretty big awakening in terms of crisis actors and the fakery being exposed, not being misrepresented as false flags by Bill Hicks and others. But as far as this year being the end, I don't believe it ends. I don't think there is an end. Another aspect to the symbolism of the power elite that run this place, their obsession with cycles. And so every end is a new beginning. So maybe it's the end of the West. Maybe it's the end of a lot of things that we would previously have identified as, being intrinsic to freedom and what we think of when we say the West. Free speech, for example, that's gone. I see so many people on Twitter pointing out Trump's Aurora speech saying, this is the reason why we can't have free speech. It's getting to be ridiculous. And listen to what Trump said. He said November 5th will be Liberation Day in America. So I want to point out too, because I was just watching Penguin. In the Penguin, it shows the flood from the Batman movie. The flood is a flood of the election. They flood the polls, which is what happened in the 2022 midterms. The GOP slogan was flood the polls. But that was November the 5th, and then Gotham's underwater on 11/6. So here we have Trump saying November the 5th will be Liberation Day in America. And one more thing, Alan Moore is a major Metascriptor, graphic novelist, I think we get from him The Watchmen. Lots of predictive programming with that guy. And he's the one who put V for Vendetta based on Guy Fawkes, which is all about the gunpowder plot, remember the 5th of November. So the fact that he's drawn attention to that historic character and that date, and that his movie V for Vendetta perfectly predicted 2020, makes me think that perhaps November the 5th might be an important key date. Let's take a listen to what Trump said about it.
But to everyone here in Colorado and all across our nation, I make this pledge and vow to you, November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It will be Liberation Day.
Liberation Day. Plain Dakota says, funnily enough, it was Alex Jones who made me aware of hoaxes, and then he was an agent when he backtracked. Right. You see, that was a perfect limited hangout operation. And what they managed to do with it is, because that was intentional, the script was, you go too far, then you backtrack. It was a honeypot. I think it was designed to railroad any growing body of media skeptics noticing fakery and then attach them all to this one event. And even in the way they focus on this one event, to me, that's just kind of like part of the psyop. I ignore it. There are so many other fake shootings we could talk about. The one they politicized is like the one biggest tree in the forest of fakery. And you have people still talking about that like it's a talking point. It's like nobody cares. People have moved on. And all of the dead kids from that event grew up and have had other roles for the most part. I mean, we know it was a movie. Was it Gabby Petito? She was in a Sandy Hook video. She showed up. She had a starring role in this sort of a real-life kidnapping of Persephone, Spring Maiden Goes to Hades story, if you recall. Her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, kidnapped her in a van, supposedly. I mean, I think it was a psyop based on the kidnapping of Persephone. One of the classics of the mystery schools. They love to reenact these old plays. Kevin Mooring says, Bane said in Dark Knight, this is your Liberation Day, when the stadium blew up. See, this is getting intriguing to me now because Bane has been connected with Trump. In fact, I think they've said that, and here's his stadium speech. I think people have already connected the two. But something else here, there is a lot of predictive programming for the nuking of Seattle that all revolves around the stadium. There's quite a lot. And so we've looked at the stadium, and it's all attached to 11.3, the 11.3 Seattle thing. The reason why we were looking at 311 in advance is we had already kind of been expecting something in Seattle on 11.3. So I was thinking, well, maybe that could be something that would stop an election, fallout. And anything that you watch as far as entertainment should be considered a PSA on some level. We were shown Fallout by Jonathan Nolan, who also gave us Westworld, and that was obviously to prepare us for Fallout, so we know how to react properly. We were conditioned. So here's Trump giving his Bane speech, and this is his inaugural speech, no less.
Giving it back to you, the people.
And we give it back to you, the people.
Sound familiar? Says, Internet is comparing Trump's speech to that of Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. Yet another example of Trump connecting to the Batman universe. And for those who don't know why this makes sense or don't understand what the point of it is, here's what I'm talking about. The fake news is used to fake history. And the writers behind this thing merge the entertainment with the future news events. It's perfectly synchronized. And they use fictional universes in order to influence us. They give us these characters. Do you sympathize with Joker or Batman? Are you left or right? And in this case, Batman is definitely a huge part of this story. And we just talked about this Rupert Thorne character with his ear getting clipped by Batman's boomerang. And then we talked about Joker too, and how the crowd outside the courthouse on the day that Trump was in the courthouse was confused by bystanders as having been there for Trump. No, they were there for the Joker. So here again, let's just continue. This is Trump quoting Bane. And this is not life imitates art. This is psyops, imitate art. And it's by design.
And giving it back to you, the people.
And we give it back to you.
All right, well, thank you for that lead there, Kevin Morey. Ted Stryker says, I'm watching a police show, Tim. There was an active AK incident off Broadway Street in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not sure how old this is. We've already crossed 100 murders this year. It's pretty bad. About an AK, though, it wouldn't surprise me. There's this channel, Albuquerque Raw, that I follow. But most of it is on, like, okay, Broadway. It's like, if you're on that side of town, like, if you ever come to Albuquerque, I can tell you where to avoid if you don't want to get mugged or shot. And as a rule, avoid gas stations after dark if you're within a mile of Central. It's pretty easy to not get shot. Unless you're like that unlucky guy. I read about this. He is a hardworking person. His truck was being stolen. He went outside and these 3 juveniles came out and they were stealing his truck and they unloaded all their rounds into him. I think he was hit 27 times. But you don't hear about these things. They don't get politicized the way that these high-profile psyops do, because their purpose, the news media's purpose, isn't to inform you about the real world. It's to conform you to a worldview. You're supposed to believe that these shootings are only coming from, MAGA-friendly, right-leaning, bowl-cut shooters who are, with neo-Nazi sympathies, like Nick Cruz, for example. Just going through some comments here. Esteban says, I use a Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini Pro for streaming, Blackmagic 6K cam, and Apollo X's interface. Well, if you want to jump into Discord after this live stream, you can bring that up, because we're talking about everything. And if you have any ideas for the channel, by all means. I want to talk about AutoHoaxCon 2, which is coming up at the end of this month. Okay, here's Nick Fuentes. I mentioned this yesterday, and someone had compared Nick Fuentes to Arthur Fleck. Here's Nick Fuentes, and he is way more Ray Epps than Ray Epps. He is telling the MAGAs to storm the castle.
Keep moving towards the Capitol. It appears we are taking the Capitol building.
It appears we are taking the Capitol building. Does anybody believe that the QAnon shaman ever spent any day in jail? I mean, he was sentenced to 27 months is what he spent there. But he had a sign that said, Q sent me. You think if anybody would want to know who Q was, the guy who got him in trouble, it would be the Q shaman. But no, he's never come out looking for Q. I find that to be really strange. Elephant Tusk says they also took out the homeless guy in the East Mountains. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But it was true. Someone didn't leave the hills, and some police officer wanted to test out his weapon. They caught him on audio, actually saying. Deprogrammed Truther says, I just made it. Yeah, Infinite Plane Saturnday normally takes place earlier. And after this, we are going to be going to the Discord, and we'll continue this conversation. I got this tweet from Free the Speech Waco, 1999. So this is Alex Jones at Waco, 1999. I think he helped raise money to rebuild their church. So I was doing a little bit of research on this, and I learned that the Branch Davidians were some kind of Seventh-day Adventist cult. And this is highly relevant because the Q movement is largely based, as far as the JFK coming back and the Great Awakening, a lot of it is Seventh-day Adventist inspired. So what do you think? According to the Twitter poster here, he says, he asks, does Jones look 25? In your opinion, does this look like a 25-year-old? It's just one picture, it's a profile. His theory here is that Alex Jones is somebody 12 years older. So he would be 37 here, 36 here. Does he look 36 or 25? And there's a documentary that this person put out, and he did a lot of comparisons, a lot of side-by-sides, and a lot of people are taking the idea that this guy, here's a short breakdown of it. We're not talking about a mere doppelganger. We're talking about two men who share the same face, same crooked teeth, same best friend, same obscure production company, same Texas location, same interests. Alex is clearly lying about his age, and his friends repeatedly joke about the relationship. If anyone's interested in this, I'm going to put a link to the BitChute video. See for yourself. Yeah, Shaman was the roadkill guy, Ted Stryker. The guy wearing the animal skins, and he had all the really bad tattoos. So he goes out there and he becomes the face of the riot. And he carries a spear. Sync Lloyd says the audio's low. Let me see if I can fix that. Do you people not have volume knobs? Just turn it clockwise. No, it's not you. In fact, someone was offering me some technical advice, and I'm probably going to pick up a new mic. But for the time being, we're stuck with this. So I'm going, oh, you're right. Good ear there. Good ear, Sync Lloyd. We were only at 95%. So thank you for the constructive criticism. Okay, moving on. Phones are now open, 505-510-4226. I saw this, I didn't really mention it yesterday, but dozens of people were looting. These aren't longshoremen liberating children from the Wayfair crates. No, these are Chicagoans. 150 people or more were actively looting and breaking into a cargo train on the west side of Chicago. Police had been dispatched, and apparently they just watched. Witnesses described the situation as chaotic, with looters working to empty the cargo. This is a developing story. Now, they're taking a bunch of big screen TVs, and they think they're winning. In my view, this is probably intentional. I think this has a couple of agendas attached to it. One, the brainwashing. They need everybody in front of a big screen. They need you to press your nose up against the monolith for the next big psyop. And it looks like these cargo things are labeled, is that EMP or ENP? But they just stood down and let them take all these TVs. But two, I think they're destroying our concept of free markets. I think they want to destroy shopping, like as an institution, as a pastime. I think they want to get rid of this. I think they want everything centrally distributed from Amazon. Yep, IPS with 5% more gain. Elephant says, Tim, the Vedic astrologers are saying that we're ripe for a major event on 10/13 or 10/14. Same type of alignments and energy as on July 13th. I'll have to consult with Isabel. We have a resident astrologer who's pretty spot on. But the Vedic astrologers, what did they say about 2012? Because if people are in the business of making prophecies and then pushing the dates back, I'd like to know where they were wrong before. Like the guy, his name was Biggs, who supposedly predicted Trump getting his eardrum blown up. He described the scene where Trump's giving a big speech, big rally, mountains in the background. And someone had broken it down and they said, well, it's not hard to predict blue sky, clouds, mountains. But he got that wrong because there's no mountains in Butler, Pennsylvania. It's not hard to predict a lot of these things, but the guy who made the prediction and went viral for it, turns out he has made many predictions, and they all got deleted after one of them. It's like betting on a bunch of racehorses. And then once he realized this one's the winner, he deleted the rest because it would destroy his credibility. That's called the sharpshooter fallacy. You fire a bunch of rounds, see what sticks in a tight cluster. Then you draw a target. Then you tell people what a great shot you are after you've mopped away all the other, after you've just basically highlighted a few lucky shots. It's cheating. Lieutenant Dan signed with Kick for $2 million and dropped the N-bomb live. I heard it. It wasn't a hard R, and it's such a stupid meme anyway. Lieutenant Dan is going viral, and I saw so many conflicting stories about him. He's the guy who slept in his boat. He should probably do a podcast with that that girl, I don't even want to say it, the Hawk girl. What is with these trashy internet influencers? And they get just elevated so quickly over cringy things, like undeserving. I'm not a fan of that person, and Lieutenant Dan's all right, although his daughter's worried about him getting all that money because she thinks that he's too high. And it's like, well, that will help him. He can get some help. G said, what's with all the ridiculous specific predictions? They never happen. I think it's misinformation. And I think it's there to dilute any kind of real analysis of the alignment between entertainment and news. The faking of history, the news bending. What we're doing is an objective analysis and critique, and we look at the entertainment as more or less entrainment for future events or even concurrent events right around the corner. And if you're talking about these things like we are, we're not really making specific like date predictions, but we are predicting certain trends. Like, oh, based on this movie, Trump's going to have a head wound on the right side of his head. And it's going to have these types of situations surrounding it. Generally, like the whole right-wing, domestic, violent, extremist narrative that's kicking in. We've predicted these things. We've predicted space junk becoming a real thing. But the dates I don't really stick to. I don't think it's all that much a huge part of it. The dates do matter, as they are obviously timed with astrology, but I think that there's a lot of people who make predictions with bad evidence based on gematria calculators, based on this many days between this and that, therefore it means something on this date. And I've called a lot of those people out for their fallacious reasoning, and they all block me. But I think it's important, though, if somebody is making predictions or they're promoting information that's debunked, that if they're not willing to correct it or address what was wrong in their assessment, you can just dismiss them. They're grifters. Okay, I'm going to go through my Twitter feed. If you want to find me there, it's IPS Think Tank. Archives are all there as well. But what I will say is this. The people who think that we're looking at prophecies are generally wrong in their big picture. They think that they're predicting real events. Like, no, that's a major mistake. We're predicting psyops, fake news. It's an important point. Predictive programming prepares you for fake news. That's how they write our fake history. It's part of your conditioning. It's part of advertising ideas, pre-selling you. It's part of it. It's how they put things into the realm of possibility that don't belong there. So we're not in the business of predicting real events. That has to be made clear. Most of the other people are, however. I'm not an end times person either. Linda Curtis says, blue light fear being put out there because the jab failed. Yeah, the anti-jabbers have kind of become anti-climate change. I haven't looked into blue light phobia. I'll take a look later. Do you remember Project Bluebeam people used to talk about? They said the government's going to project something so big in the sky that it's going to convince everybody that it's the second coming and everything's going to change. And it's a big deception. Project Bluebeam was kind of a mainstay of conspiracy conjecture for such a long time. And most people say when they do it, don't fall for it. Like they think they're being prescient and they're giving you some valid advice. Project Bluebeam, a conspiracy theory that claims NASA is going to implement a new age religion with the Antichrist at its head and start a new world order via a technology stimulated second coming, or simulated. Project Bluebeam proponents allege, wow, there's quite a lot here. It was supposed to happen in 1983, then 85, 95, 96. Didn't happen yet. They said it would be brought in the year 2000. Didn't happen. But I'm trying to find out who made it popular first. Some guy named Monast. Now, the reason I'm bringing up Project Bluebeam and this conspiracy that they're going to use technology to implement a new world order religion is that they've already accomplished this with the TV. They've already accomplished this with the control over history and time by manipulating the news the way they do. They've already put us into a worldview, a world model that is the de facto state religion. The Nasatology is what I call it. If you are an adherent, a believer in the religion of Nasatology, you are in the New Age's religion. Look at its founders. Look at the beginning. Look at JPL, Jack Parsons, Crowley, L. Ron Hubbard, Marjorie Cameron, her connections to Kenneth Anger. Yeah, we did see Mystery Babylon dressed up with science fiction, implemented as a space religion that everybody believes in. And they performed a miracle. Like Christ walking on water, you had Neil Armstrong walking on the moon, and that cemented it. That was, for all intents and purposes, everything Project Bluebeam was supposed to do. Like, they already won. It already happened. Jock says, I think Project Bluebeam was the implementation of the globe Earth. Yeah, I would say you're accurate there, because in my view, the space program is about controlling your inner space. It's about your worldview. And when they showed us the blue marble in 1972, it put us all on the same page. Elephant says, the blue screens obviously work as people are glued to their smartphones. You cannot deny that. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Because people get glued to anything. Before smartphones, it was something else. And people are easily glued to their filters. The ubiquitous smartphone, though, is the monolith. It is the symbol that Stanley Kubrick introduced. We all have our programmer in our hands. You all have your worldview curation. Big Brother's curated worldview is right there in front of you at all times. And what's even better is, for them, from their point of view, they didn't have to bug your house. They don't have to spy on you with secret police. No, you are self-surveilling. And it's intrinsically rewarding. And if you're somehow able to get the contents of your mind out there, you get paid for that too. Total invasion. Like, if you think about 9/11, loss of privacy, loss of some levels of privacy with regard to travel, banking, where you move your money. But then you also have the pat-downs, where now government agents can palpate your pants to make sure you don't have a bomb in them. So now they're looking beneath your clothes. 2020, now there's a compelling state interest to know what's in your blood. So now your medical history is no longer so private. So now they've gone from knowing what's under your clothes to what's under your skin. The next layer is when they get what's in your mind, where they start scanning your browser history, where they're able to determine, oh, this person has this mind virus in them. I think I might have a negative social credit score. Like, I'm way in the red because a call center refused to hire me. They said good luck and they believe in me, but Megan Walsh tweeted, Diddy is a character, Kanye is a character, John Walsh is a character, Tim Ballard is a character, Obama, Kamala, all characters. Let's understand it and move forward. I understand where this person's coming from. People get caught up in the automatic believing in whatever they're told. Kanye and Diddy, Epstein. Reality has become very selective, though. You can choose your own apocalypse. Choose what you want to believe. This is a recycling of the QAnon story, by the way. The deep state's about to be exposed. Yeah, right. In 2 weeks. Just remember, it's just going to be in 2 weeks from now. Mark your calendar. And then on that day, mark 2 weeks ahead. It's always 2 weeks ahead. They're chasing a carrot. When Stu Peters is going to be here? Let me take a listen. Take a look, rather, see if I can get him to call in. I was going to schedule something so we could promote it. I talk about Stu Peters a lot. Someone else sent me a tweet. They said you're R-worded. Oh, that guy. I told him to stop defending predators. Because somebody had knocked out a child predator with a pumpkin, like in a Walmart. And then someone else was like, that's attempted murder. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, some people are like, we shouldn't have internet people, live streamers chasing after these predators. They're going to get arrested. And it's like, if you think about it, the occasional live streamer getting arrested is, I would say, the cost of doing business. Like, I'm fine with it. But yeah, I'm certainly thinking that Stu Peters, he expressed interest in coming on. We're going to talk about likely misinformation and deep fakery. And I introduced myself as the one that he promoted for calling the ISS fake. We'll see where that goes. Joined by Diana South. Thanks for joining. Angst G says, wear your negative social credit score like a badge of honor. It's just a guess. I don't know for sure. I'm not sure how to find out, but I have it's a guess. It just could be something else. Maybe I come off weird on interviews. I give off mass shooter vibes, perhaps. Okay, I'm going through my tweets here. I agree with this Megan Walsh's assessment. I think we should treat these as characters until proven otherwise. Okay, here's the scene of the guy getting knocked out with a pumpkin. I'm just going to play it really quick. 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay. Okay, moving on. Mike Flynn embraces bullet head, Sean Moon, an authoritarian cult leader. Oh, is Sean Moon related to Sun Young Moon, the Moonie? This is an interesting combination of individuals here. Okay, yes. So this guy, Sean Moon, is an American pastor, and they're part of the Unification Sanctuary Church, but he's the leader of Iron Rod Ministries. And they have M16s, like they worship the gun. Iron Rod Ministries. So yeah, gun worshiping Moonies, cult of the Iron Rod Ministries, and he gave the opening prayer at Mike Flynn's event.
And your courage was exemplified on J13 with President Trump standing up again after the assassin's bullet failed by your mighty hand, protection, a hedge of protection that was put upon him by you, O Lord. We thank.
By the way, the Lord's hedge of protection only encompassed Trump. It didn't help the firemen. Like, I'm kind of wondering about that. But yeah, this is a cult leader. They worship the gun. And he's saying, we thank you, God of the guns, for mobilizing patriots across the land to stop this communist revolution.
Fight, fight, fight. We thank you for saving America this critical hour. We thank you for mobilizing all the patriots across this land to stop the cheating of this communist revolution that is now rioting through this land. But we know that you are...
All right, fascinating characters. And their entire worldview rests on their firm belief that what they see on TV happened as we see, as it's broadcast. And so if Trump wasn't really shot, then who is he? What is he actually doing? I mean, is he deceived? Probably. Incompletist says Crawley's birthday is today. Messianic says, don't announce your next job choice, wait till after. That way they don't know your moves to obstruct them. Yeah, if it is a conspiracy, there's probably nothing I can do. Diana South says their Lord does not exist. Well, Lord, isn't that what Baal means? Isn't it just Lord Baal? I think there's a lot of paganism in MAGA these days. California rejects more SpaceX rocket launches, citing Musk's posts on X. This is just a story. California Coastal Commission rejected SpaceX and their request to expand, and they halted 50 more launches, ostensibly because of Elon's memes. Now, I've often said that Elon Musk is the leading cause of space junk and mind junk. And as so far as outer space is a metaphor for inner space and mind control, there's a correlation between the space junk in low Earth orbit, which is a commons, and cyberspace and X's mind junk or memes. Cyberspace being another commons. Now, the low Earth orbit commons is fake, but the cyberspace one is real, and this is the one they wish to control. So this Musk character is a fall guy for free speech. He is definitely here to build public will against this type of character with this much money having this much influence. So the idea that they would get in the way here over memes makes perfect sense. Mind junk and space junk. These things are, it's a parallel narrative. Yes, Plain Decoded. We will be on Discord right after this, and I'll put a link below, and we're going to be doing episode 2. Remember, you were there last time. Elephant Tusk says, Tim, did you see California is bringing back mandatory face masking? Yeah, I'm not an anti-masker. I'm anti-anti. Because the anti-mask movement is run by shills. And I heard this on NPR, but it sounds like it's only in hospitals. So I kind of don't care. Yeah, if you want to call in live on Discord, I can just open Discord. That's not a problem. But anti-mask is controlled opposition at this point. Like, if you don't want to wear it, don't wear it. But at this point, saying you don't wear it is kind of virtue signaling. And then you're associated with all kinds of shills. I don't want to be on the same team with a lot of these. Okay, here we go. So, Plain Decoded, if you want to go ahead and talk via Discord, we are now in Discord. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I wanted to share with you something about some possible. I talked to you about this in the last thing, but if you want to put it on your show, I thought it's kind of interesting, and I can got it to you quickly if you want to see it, and you can like put on YouTube on your show, right?
Sure. What is it?
Remember I was telling you about the predictive programming and a Spider-Man for the Mets in the World Series?
Yes. Go on.
So first we can start by just go to Google and type in when is Spider-Man No Way Home set in? And then you'll see it's set in 2000. It should say 2024.
Okay, so
when does
Spider-Man No Way Home is in New York City, and it takes place in 2024. That's what you're saying? Yes. Okay, but I see that.
Yeah. But the movie itself, I think, was released in either 2021 or 2022. And then if you go to if you go to YouTube and type in Spider-Man No Way Home FaceTime scene.
Go on.
And then there should be it should say like something about cute, like a cute FaceTime scene or something.
Yeah. It says Tom Daya being cute on FaceTime Spider-Man. That's the one?
Yeah, click that and then just go to a minute 19.
This is it.
And it's just a quick snippet.
Folks,
you'll hear
it's
Spider-Man Peter Parker talking to MJ and saying that he thinks the Mets are going to go all the way this year.
Okay, let me play this.
It's very short. As soon as he says it, that's all you have to hear.
Okay, so I'm at 117. I went back a couple of seconds. I'm going to play this clip.
You're a people person.
I love people. I love them so much.
You like sports?
I think the Mets are going to go all the way this year.
Really?
What's that noise?
Okay, I think Mets are going to go all the way this year in this. Okay, got your point there.
Okay, and then so if you now go, so he's saying that the Mets are going to go all the way. This is 2022, and the Mets are one series away from the World Series right now, and they weren't even going to make the World Series. This is the 120th World Series, and the Chicago White Sox had just made the record for the modern era most losses, and the team that held it before was the Mets, and they had 120 losses, and this is the 120th World Series. And then also, so Spider-Man, if you go to Google and you type in when is Spider-Man first introduced, and Google that, and it'll say 1962. And then if you see when did the New York Mets start, it's 1962. And then let me know.
Okay, go on. So you found here a correlation between Mets last winning 1962 and the beginning of Spider-Man 1962, and then this movie.
No. Yeah, the beginning of Spider-Man, and the Mets were established in 1962, and so was Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is saying in this movie in 2022 that they're going to go all the way in 2024, which means that they're going to win the World Series.
I see.
And but the record for the most losses in baseball in the modern era was just broken by the White Sox this year. And the holder of it was the Mets. In 1962, they had 120 straight losses, and this is the 120th World Series.
I would like,
you follow?
Yeah, I'd like to see all these on bullet points, but yeah, I do follow here. It does look like a pattern, and if this comes true, that would be established. And you said this is a likelihood?
Yeah, because they're one series away. They just have to beat the Dodgers. So
okay,
and it seems like they're going to. It's a bit of a Cinderella story, but so I don't know if they're going to or not. But it's in this movie. So this is a predictive programming, and it's in one of the main Marvel universes, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
and then it's.
I would say based
I'm gonna
on
make
this,
a video.
Make a bet.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a video actually because there's a lot more. Like it takes time to make a video, and I have kids, so I can't do it. But I have some time tonight. I might do it, but there's a lot more, and I could put it together. But I wanted to put it on here in case it doesn't come true. But the main thing is like it's easy to just show you that clip, right, and show you the connection to. It was filmed in 2022.
Yes.
And then he says that in the movie, and then the timeline is 2024, and now it's 2024. And they seem like they're going to do it.
Good call, because there's a good chance that somebody may be able to add on to this in the meantime. But whenever you do get the video out, I'll definitely promote it because I find it to be interesting. I don't follow sports close enough, but it's important to note that the meta-scripted story, the narratives, it is told through sports as well. And they use symbolism in sports. They use rituals in sports all the time. And it's kind of a blind spot for me, so I appreciate you calling with that information since I haven't been keeping up with baseball at all.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you and see if I could just add something cool to the show there.
All right, appreciate it. And I look forward to the video, Plain Decoded, and hopefully I'll see you in the after chat here in like half an hour possibly.
All right, thanks.
All right, that is Plain Decoded. And if for some reason you can't get through on the phones, you do have the backup. You do have the option of going into Discord, and I can meet you there. All right, let's continue. Sports are scripted. Is that even controversial to say? People get mad, right? But remember, they got mad when you said that wrestling was scripted too. And anybody who doesn't know that by now, I'm sorry, but spoiler alert, wrestling's fake. And we were just talking about Hulk Hogan, how he shows up at the RNC and references Hulkamania, where his face was bloody and he's looking down at Trump, and how seeing Trump up there on the stage with his bloody face reminded him of Hulkamania. And then Trump blew him a kiss. And I thought, okay, that was a kiss between two WWE Hall of Famers, because they were referencing the same theatrical technique of blading or squibbing. I'm still thinking it's a squib. If you know somebody with a MAGA hat, squeeze it between the 45 and the 47 on the hyphen and see if any blood comes out, because I think that's how it works. Although when it comes to these events too, I don't think they take any chances. And it's often, I think, the case that they have prefabricated footage to roll in. Like the photo of the bullet whizzing by Trump's ear. That obviously had to have been faked and planned in advance. And it was by the Douglas Mills, the same AP photographer who just did the photo of Musk jumping. So the guy who did the photo of the bullet whizzing by Trump's ear also took the photo of a Secret Service agent whispering in Bush's ear about 9/11. And finally, he took the photo of Elon Musk leaping with his hands up, don't shoot style behind Trump. Masonic distress signal associated with the third degree, where the candidate is with the apprentice. Think about that. The apprentice Mason is hit on the head with a gavel. So here we have Trump, the apprentice, and we're waiting for the head wound with the gavel. And Musk's hand sign is associated with that particular act. And the Joker 2 trailer even showed it, a scene where a judge is hit on the head with a gavel. Lufus says, sports are scripted indeed. Diana South says Dodgers, as in draft Dodgers, bullet Dodgers, jab Dodgers. Well, Trump didn't dodge a bullet technically. God deflected it and let it hit the fireman. Because he loves a good martyr story. Elephant asks, do you think Trump's ketchup was Heinz or Hunt's? I think it was McDonald's. I think they went through the McDonald's drive-thru. A caravan of black SUVs, and Trump asked for an extra ketchup packet on the way in. What else could explain it? And even the way it was on his face, the blood, it was like lines, like he had. Does anybody here think the Trump event was real? Anybody out there reality impaired, confused, not knowing how it really works? Has anybody been duped by Donald Trump doing a magic trick? Think about that. If you're Trump deranged and you hate Trump, here's another reason to hate him. He totally tricked you. And if you still think it's real, then he controls your mind. Like, it's okay to say fake is fake. You know, there used to be a lot of fake shaming among truthers. Don't call it fake. Don't call them actors. It was rampant until we put a stop to it. I mean, it's still kind of there, but we disregard them. Okay, here's another guy who claims that there are hundreds of people entombed in cars, and he's in front of an American flag. He's wearing, I would argue these are all actors, and they're trying to convey the appearance of being right-wingers.
Supplies in our bush planes, me and some other guys kind of put together an effort in conjunction with Operation Airdrop, which is an unbelievable organization. These guys are based out of.
So it's private sector individuals, private citizens trying to basically fill in for FEMA. But I think these are all fake. I think it's a fake issue. But they're making these really extreme claims, and there's nothing to back it up. Reminds me of Maui, when we kept on hearing about the 1,500 DEW kids, direct energy weapons, had apparently zapped 1,500 kids off the face of the earth, and nobody was looking for them after. But there were a bunch of videos of people like this talking about it as though they knew something about it, but it's always second or third hand. And once again, this is being posted by Wall Street Apes with more than 500,000 followers. This guy isn't Wall Street Apes. These big influencer channels are promoting these random TikTok crisis actors. This is a psyop. And I recognize them at a glance. They're getting paid well, but these are all actors. Catching up on your comments. Diana said it would have been more fun if Elon flew with a jetpack like a superhero. Yeah, if it were the case that he wasn't merely playing one on TV. You know, the Rocket Man thing. He's Tony Stark. He's Iron Man. And Robert Downey Jr. said that his inspiration for Iron Man's Tony Stark was Elon Musk. So another example of this merging of real and fake. Got another tweet here from Free Speech for the Peeps, who's remarking how Bill Hicks's closest friend has a 10th anniversary death party or celebration, and they give a painting on the 10th anniversary of the death of Bill Hicks to Alex Jones, their mutual co-producer. Again, at Hicks's 10-year anniversary, death anniversary, the star of the show and final speaker and award recipient was Alex Jones. What do you think of that? I've never received any kind of commemorative painting of some dead person that's not me on their anniversaries, on their death anniversary. I don't know how that even happened. But it looks like some kind of a inside thing. But the Kevin Booth link there, undeniable. There's a whole research team right now poking holes in the Alex Jones story. It's getting kind of interesting, to be honest. I'm glad somebody's giving it the treatment it deserves. Yeah, Violet said, I had to watch the documentary 2 times the speed. It was dragged out. Yeah, it's not even that interesting when it comes down to it. So here we're looking at Optimus robots that X has put out, and it reminds me of Boston Dynamics. Do you remember how Boston Dynamics released these videos and nobody noticed that these were all fake? You had people saying, oh, it's Terminator. That kind of thing. Not even close. Well, now they're marching out all these Optimus bots and they're having conversations with people. And many people are suggesting that the conversations are being done by somebody remotely on a microphone, that these aren't real conversations. So I'm kind of auto-hoaxing that aspect of the autonomous assistants. Patricia Steer says, in Hurricane Katrina, police appeared and stood down as looters opened up Walmart and stole everything. Even those big box TVs, it was insane. I was there watching for 3 days. Yeah, they stood down, didn't they? The other day we were talking about Chris Kyle. Chris Kyle is the character that Kyle Rittenhouse was based upon. He was a U.S. Navy SEAL sniper, 4 tours, 160 confirmed kills. But I brought this guy up because there was looting across state lines. And like Rittenhouse, he crossed state lines to stop the looting. It is said, and Chris Kyle's not alive anymore, so he can't corroborate with us with this, but he said that during Katrina, he drove down, crossed state lines, and he climbed on top of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Here it is. This is in the New Yorker. It said, during a late-night drinking session, he recounted how driving to New Orleans, after hearing about the looting in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, he bought sniper rifles and positioned himself on the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And according to one report, Kyle claimed to have shot 30 people himself. So this story would bring his death toll to 190. But this is reported, this is talked about. I heard rumors about it. And there's even more here. According to Kyle, the police let him go, asserting that police officers across the country were thanking him for cleaning up the streets. They misfired with Kyle. If they thought they were going to make Kyle into a hero, he is reviled. I've heard him, I saw this Twitter account, they were calling him Killer Murder House. Like, they really don't like him. And I'm like, Kyle's, in my view, fake as it is, he's pretty much a hero. You know, 3 shots or three victims. He didn't kill any BLM marchers. He shot a pedo, a burglar, and a strangler. And we went through that story ad nauseum. Nothing about it's real. It was all about Jacob Blake. So Jacob Blake is shot by police after he brings out a knife, after he assaults his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. That's kind of the story. Then he's in jail, or he's in hospital. I think maybe he's handcuffed to the bed, and while he's there, he can't walk anymore. He's paralyzed, and the marching begins out there in Kenosha. While he was there, I'm pretty sure Kamala Harris visited Jake Blake. Like while he was, yeah, Kamala Harris meets with Jake Blake's family in Wisconsin. And she said the cops who shot Blake should be prosecuted. She told Jacob Blake she was proud of him. Fascinating. Just straight up instigation. I'm bringing this up because I think a couple of things. Jacob Blake was friends with the skateboard guy. The guy at the skateboard that tried to hit Kyle on the head. So they knew each other. Thrustazar says Kyle was a fictional character and the character playing him got paid for all the lies and slander. What about Gage Grossarm? You saw that picture of him at the hospital. Like the night after he shot, he's smiling for the camera and his arm is just ripped open from... It looked fake to me, but he was showing off the wound, which I thought was kind of strange. Probably ill-advised to expose it to the air. But Gage disappeared. He claimed he was being threatened by people on the internet. We did put a bounty for $1,000 for anybody who could meet him and inspect his wound. You know, volitionally, talk to him. Let me see your wound. But he disappeared, and then he showed up again with a new name, Paul Predator. And Paul Predator was hit by a truck. And then he went on the news to talk about how he was hit by somebody. And for some reason that was covered. And people pointed out, hey, this is the same guy from Kenosha. So he blew his own cover to promote a GoFundMe for having been run over. And when people found out who he was, they didn't want to donate anymore. Echo Charlie says, Kyle got his day in court so quickly, I call that part fake. What about his cry face? Like a lot of these FEMA camp or post-FEMA crisis actors we've seen, these anti-FEMA types, they should watch some of these professionals. Like Kyle's a pro. Give him a Golden Hoggy Award. Yeah, it sounds too much like Predator. But it's also a very unique name. And if I go undercover, if I go witness protection, my name's going to be generic. Why would you take a non-generic name? That never made any sense to me at all. So I called Q a hoax. And this guy on Twitter said to me, it refers to security clearance in plain sight and in legal documents. You're calling it a hoax. I'm calling it ignorance. I don't doubt the existence of Q security clearance. William Cooper claimed to have Q security clearance. I have a relative at a power company who has Q clearance. It doesn't mean what the QAnoners think it means. They think Q is JFK, who hasn't aged because he's in a med bed. They think all kinds of weird things. It's like fan fiction. They live in a world of fan fiction. So we often talk about we living within these fictional universes. We're living in the Batman universe. We're on Planet Netflix in the Disney universe, rather. But you have these overlapping fictional universes. Many of them are the ones that we see in the movies. Marvel is a big one. The Batman universe. But the Q-universe, I'll call it. The Q-universe is mostly the result of community-generated fan fiction. Anti-fan fiction. They write these lurid stories about people like Tom Hanks and what he does behind closed doors, and he's like a serial killer and adrenochrome and all this stuff, and they live in that universe. So they make up stuff, kind of like the media made up bowl cut shooters, and now the libs live in this world where these angry kids with bad haircuts are going to go shoot up their schools, and they live in that, and they become radicalized as a result. The QAnoners live in a fictional universe of their own creation, and it is a dark, dark place. I'm glad I'm not there. And anytime I go in there and I try to shine a light, I get attacked. I get impugned. I get called ignorant. It's projection at this point. Messianic Charlatan says, I met a New Yorker familiar with Trump who believes that the assassination attempt is real because Trump's an a-hole, so he's likely to be targeted. I know a lot of people who think it's real and lament the fact that he missed. Like, I know normal, regular people who are displeased with the fact that the shooter missed. Like, they would rather have seen Trump's head red misted, exploding like a watermelon on TV. They would rather have had that than for him to compete in an election. That's where a lot of normies are at. So when I say that the auto hoaxers and the skeptics have the moral and ethical and intellectual high ground, I absolutely mean it. You know, we're not the ones cheering for real deaths. Like when I say, I hope that Seattle gets nuked on 11/3, I'm saying so under the presupposition that nobody's going to die in this fake event to come. And that was a magic trick. The best way to explain the Trump thing, it was not a false flag. There weren't multiple shooters. It was 100% a magic trick. The world stage presents us with magic shows. And for magic shows to work, you have to look where the magician wants you to look while sitting in your seat. So you can't, see backstage how anything works. And if you're only looking at curated news, you're in your seat. If you're only looking at curated news, you're only going to see what you're directed to see, and that's not enough information to arrive at the truth. And the way people approach media, it's like, if I can't figure out how it's fake, I'm going to assume it's real. That would be as bad as going to a magic show, like a literal magic show, and walking away convinced that you've seen all kinds of real magic because you can't figure out how it happened. Cygirl says, any updates on the Tim Ballard sex cult scandal? Yeah, I saw him trying to do some weak damage control. Sound of Freedom's hero is a trafficker of the women that he brings with him on his exploits. The horrendous allegations against Sound of Freedom's hero. And you know what? When they were promoting this movie on Twitter, they said, if you don't watch it, you're part of the problem. You're a child trafficker. You're an enabler if you don't watch this movie and show your support. New Angel Studios is being sued. Fascinating. I think they're a scam because they said this movie is outperforming the Indiana Jones. And I thought, there's no way. I was at the theaters that day. Indiana Jones was full. But I looked at this Tim Ballard movie and it looked like scattered MAGA couples. Very close, holding hands. I didn't see MAGA hats, but they looked like MAGAites. So I'm in the back taking notes, watching the movie, and I'm watching reports on Twitter about how the movie companies, the theaters, are turning off the air conditioning. They're putting nanobots in the soft drinks. They're canceling shows. So I'm hearing all these reports, which is designed as a marketing ploy to get you to go see it and think that it's going to be opposed by this cabal, by the deep state. So I watched it. There's no deep state, but it occurred to me. I went to the website Angel Studios, and I tried to order some tickets there, and there's some issues, so I just went and bought them locally. But if you go to the website, you can buy tickets for people who aren't there. So what I think what is happening here is they're having through proxies, like Tim Ballard hired someone or gave money to someone in his circle to buy out a ton of tickets. I think they were buying out tickets and presenting it as some kind of a win. But the theaters were probably empty. Like empty hospitals, empty theaters. Same thing. Cygirl says, someone needs to do a quick expose of Tim Ballard. Yeah, Jim, none of them are going to disassociate. Glenn Beck has. That's surprising, to be honest. Because Glenn Beck, isn't he a Mormon as well? Cygirl says, Glenn Beck flip-flopped from defending Ballard to now claiming he was taken in by a sociopath and sexual predator. Yet, what does that say for his discernment? The LDS hierarchy is deeply involved in this. Well, okay, Tim Ballard claimed that he was related to some powerful Mormon family. They disassociated from him. They said that's not him. Yeah, the Tim Ballard lied about having an LDS elder in his family. So Tim Ballard, I'm going to put that up on the screen here. And I think this is what helped sell the story. You felt like this guy is fighting real evil. He claimed a connection between himself and the LDS apostle, President Russell Ballard. And it turns out it's not true. So he lied about that as well. And the Mormon church actually denounced him over it. Not that I think very highly of the Mormon church, although it's fascinating, it's interesting. It's very Masonic. If you look at the rites, the elders, their special underwear, their initiation oaths, it's like Masonic Christianity or Masonic Catholicism. I don't think they're still racially segregated. I think that ended in the 70s, so, good for them. Messianic Charlatan says, the Jake Blake shooting video was narrated by the same bro repeating voice that narrated the Floyd video. Fascinating. I think the Floyd video had some connections also to Telcom X. What's that guy's name? The race faker who is big in the, Sean King. Sean King, who tries to make himself look like Malcolm X, but Sean King had some connection to that video that's worth exploring. Elephant Tusk says, Trump is speaking in Coachella, where the lib hipsters gather for a drug-fueled music festival. Well, he's getting in trouble for his Aurora speech. It's being compared to sort of like a fascist kind of speech because of its rhetoric towards immigrants. He used to be anti-gang, but now he's just like, he doesn't want the Venezuelan gangs. They're taking the turf from the American gangs. But they're really hyping up non-existent stories. His whole purpose of going to Aurora was to deal with the gangs moving in. And it turns out that was more or less a hoax. So here is Lee Harvey Oswald, who does look like a young Ron Paul. But here he is saying that he was a, quote, patsy.
I'd like some legal representation, but these police officers have not allowed me to have any. I don't know what this is all about.
Kill the president?
No, sir, I didn't. People keep asking me that. Sir?
Did you shoot the president?
I work in that building.
Were you in the building at the time?
Naturally, if I work in that building, yes, sir.
Back up, man. Did you shoot the president?
No, they're taking me in because of the fact that I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy.
I'm just a patsy. That's what I was waiting for. I'm just a patsy. This is where they set the template for all future events, where now the shooter is mentally ill, is a patsy, or you never hear from them because they were shot and killed, or they were suicide. They always get rid of the shooters. But this is where they set the template, and it helps make it real. But the point of it is, this guy's an actor, and there's a pretty interesting thread if you follow Riley's Coffee that suggests that he was going to go work for NASA with his coworkers. So what does that mean? Well, NASA, Mind Control Central, Kubrick, Apollo 11. Kubrick directed JFK's assassination hoax. So instead of going to the moon, he went to the grassy knoll. But he basically got recruited into Mind Control Central. What's up? Jennifer Reeves says, guys, I've been to the hospital, but we'll be back to regular activity soon. Good. I hope you're better. And if you want to join us, we're going to be in Discord voice chat right after this. Elon Musk described Diddy as a good friend in private. We text a lot. More guilt by association, but I just want to say it's kind of interesting. It's almost like the Epstein thing all over again, just being recycled. Less believable this time for some reason. I'm not really buying it. Here's Elon Musk, who said we need to defend Christianity, and he's got an upside-down cross on the back of his armor. He bought this armor at a shop called Abracadabra, which is Aleister Crowley's Word of the Aeon. It has a ram on the front. The ram is associated with Mars, Aries, Mars, as is the color red. This is also the same kind of uniform with the ram and the red worn by the Emperor in the Tarot card, the Emperor card, number 4, which corresponds to Mars, the red planet, 4th planet. But this is just nothing but symbolism. And this is called the Devil's Avenger. So it's not Baphomet, it's a ram, which is far more accurate because it's associated with Mars. And Musk has always been the Mars guy. The Falcon rocket. Falcon is the Mars god in the Egyptian pantheon. So there's quite a lot here to analyze, but it's just funny how people believe this guy's fighting for free speech and Western values and Christianity, and they overlook this stuff. And doesn't he want to put like a chip in your head? So yeah, here's a friendly reminder for the Musk worshippers. Musk is helping to build a surveillance state around us and has a major role in the technocratic takeover while tweeting about freedom, and the masses are eating it up. This is what we call cognitive dissonance. Ooh, good one. Elephant Tusks says, Tim, remember, Tom Cruise rented a costume at Over the Rainbow in Eyes Wide Shut. Yes. The costume shop where the owner was renting his child out to those weirdos. Strange movie. To be honest, I think it's a terrible movie, but I might have to rewatch it just because it does have some 9/11 predictive programming. It came out on the day JFK Jr. died, just like Dr. Strangelove, which has 9/11 predictive programming and same director. Dr. Strangelove contains 9/11 predictive programming. Sync Lloyd says, how many days in a row did AJ wear that NASA t-shirt? Yeah, did he lose a bet? He wore like a NASA shirt for a long time. It never changed. I don't even think he washed it. Okay, we're going to go continue this conversation in Discord. So if you want to join us, I'm going to put a link below. I'll spam it. This is mostly a catch-up. This is Infinite Plane Saturnday. We're going to talk about AutoHoaxCon number 2 and anything else that happens to be on your mind. So I'll be spamming quickly here with the link. And this is Saturna X.